Ready, yes, sir.
Call everyone's attention. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. Appreciate everyone being here. As we get started, before we have our invocation, just let's all remember our servicemen and women over in Afghanistan and the losses that our U.S. military took today, and pray for those families that are trying to get out. It's a very, very important time, and our hearts and prayers go out to those folks tonight. So let's pray together. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight. Lord, we just pray for our U.S. military. Lord, we just pray for these men and women that are fighting to defend our freedom. And Lord, just be with the families of those that have suffered these losses today. Lord, we just pray that your hand of comfort would be on them. And Lord, just thank you for the sacrifice that those families go through every day that have servicemen and women in uniform. Lord, we just pray for our national leaders and our military leaders. Lord, just give them the wisdom and the guidance. And Lord, we pray for the Afghan people. They've suffered losses today as well. And Lord, just be with those that are trying to get out and get to safety. And Lord, just be with our entire country at this time as we mourn these losses. And Lord, as we come here tonight to assemble for this county business, we just ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting. We have a lot of important agenda items here tonight, and Lord, we just pray that the decisions made here tonight are the decisions that you would have us to make. Lord, just thank you for protecting us and loving us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We'll stand and pledge the American flag, and then we'll pledge to the Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our Georgia state flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Thank you all. You may be seated. This time we'll ask the county clerk to call for a quorum.
Commissioner Blakemore.
Present.
Commissioner Askew.
Here.
Chairman Whitfield.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner Stoltz.
Present.
Okay, all members are present tonight. Before you board members, we have an agenda in front of you tonight that's been prepared. Last Thursday was released on the county website and Facebook page. Is there any reason to amend or make any changes to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The agenda is approved as presented. Okay, tonight we have several public hearings that we're going to do tonight. The first one is a public hearing preliminary of the adoption of the millage rate, which will be set at 8.313 mills for the unincorporated area and 11.963 mills in the incorporated area. With this, the 5-year history and the current 2021 shows that the total projected taxes levied is $14,107,176, and that's $196 less than what was levied last year. So this is a partial rollback of these millage rates. We tried to get this as close as we could to zero to be able to keep our property taxes as level and consistent as possible. The state formula is quite unique and quite cumbersome on how the tax system works for property taxes, dealing with the rollbacks of your tax credits for your property, your sales tax, and also the rollback for the insurance tax credit. So this does reflect a continuation of 4 years in a row of both the incorporated and the unincorporated area of a lower millage rate. Since we are seeing increased revenues in our insurance tax credit and also increased revenues with our sales tax, which we apply both of those as rollback, we do have to advertise this as a tax increase because this does reflect total additional income for the county government to operate the day-to-day operations, even with the fact that the property tax only represents a $196 reduction. That reduction is stated on here, but we still have to advertise again because of the additional revenues we receive in other tax forms. So at this time, if there's anyone that would like to come up and has any questions or comments about the proposed millage rate, we do ask you to come up here to the podium tonight, and we will give you up to 5 minutes to speak on the millage rate. So is there anyone that would like to come and speak tonight? Okay, any board members have any additional questions or comments about the millage rate?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll close out our public hearing on the millage rate. And then we'll move next to a public hearing on our FY22 budget. This is also was released 2 weeks ago at this meeting, 2 weeks ago on Thursday. It's also on the website. We do give a line item detailed budget, and we also do provide a summary budget. In the beginning, a few years ago, we would give a detailed budget, and it's over 100 pages, and people were asking for a summary budget, so we also now produce a summary budget. And so the summary budget, as an example, is 17 pages on the general fund, and then on the enterprise funds and special revenues, it's 12 pages, and just gives a several line item summary of each one. We do have a balanced budget in both of these reports. The general fund budget is $29,343,426. And the special revenue budget comes to $9,923,731. So is there anyone at this time that would like to make any comments or have any questions about either one of these proposed budgets? This is the first of 2 budget meetings. So if there's something that you see, or if you go back and review this budget proposal 2 weeks from tonight, we will also have a public hearing on the budget to give anyone an opportunity to speak about the proposed budget. So last call on the budget. Okay, any board members have anything to say or add at this time on the budget?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will close out our public hearing on the budget. At this time, we do have 3 things that were sent over to us from the Planning and Zoning. The first is a request from Megan Stone for a conditional use variance to see her massage therapy clients in her existing home for property located at 427 Oakwood Terrace, Chickamauga, Georgia, tax map and parcel 0-182-123. This is the second public hearing. There was a public hearing on this last week at the Planning Commission. This is the second hearing, and then the board will be taking action on these later on in our agenda, but this is just the listening time for the board on these items. So is there anyone here that's in opposition of this conditional use variance that would like to speak on this? If you're in opposition. Okay, hearing or seeing no one in opposition, is there anyone here that is in favor of this that would like to speak? You don't have to, but if you are in favor of this and you want to speak, you do have this time earmarked to do so. Yes, ma'am, come up, please. You'll make your way up here to the podium. If you would state your name for the record, please.
I'm Megan Stone, and so I'm requesting the variance to see my private massage clients in my home at 427 Oakwood Terrace. I've been practicing therapeutic and medical-based massage in Chattanooga for the past 10 years. My clientele includes those who have recently had surgery or who suffer from chronic pain. My hours would be Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7, and I would be the only therapist in the home. I see one client at a time and there would be no overlap. I also make house calls, so the home would not be the only place that I see my clients. There is ample parking in the driveway. My retail sales would be online with no retail foot traffic in the home. I do not believe that my business would impact the traffic in the neighborhood. I inherited this home from my grandmother, who I was very close with. It was also my father's childhood home, who passed away when I was 18. Being able to run my business out of the home means that I can keep the property and enjoy the memories that I've made with my family in it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else tonight that wants to speak either for or against the conditional use variance at 427 Oakwood Terrace? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to our next item on our public hearings. This is a request from Michael Odom for conditional use variance to operate an auto repair business at the property located at 0 McFarland Avenue, Rossville, Georgia. Tax map and parcel number 0-174-014. So is there anyone here tonight that wants to speak in opposition of this conditional use variance? Anyone in opposition on this variance request on McFarland Avenue? Okay, hearing none. Anyone that wants to speak in favor of this? Yes, sir, come up, please. Please state your name for the record.
I am Michael Odom. I'm the one asking for the variance. I've owned the building for quite a while. I own a small trucking business as well. I park the commercial vehicles there. I work on the commercial vehicles there. I understand it's in the outside edge of the overlap district. I will work hard to try to keep it clean. I'm working on putting a blind fence up now on one end of it, so you can't see any air compressor or anything that sits outside.
Very good. So you're talking about the Battlefield Overlay District, correct?
Mhm. Yes. I mean, it's a commercial area right there. Snack Shack's behind it. There's a car lot, an electric company across the street as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, anyone else that would like to speak on this?
So,
State your name for the record.
Elliot Pierce. I went by and I drove by the guy's property that he's looking to rezone, and across the street, there are cars parked all around the building, front and back. He's trying to make a living for himself. I'm on the planning commission. I think this is a good thing for the community. I think that he deserves to have a right to do what he wants with his own property. If it's within the, within the boundaries of what's accepted within the community, obviously that's being accepted by the lot across the street having a lot of cars across the street. So I stand with him on this.
Okay, anyone else that wants to speak on this variance request? Okay, we're going to move to our next item. We have a request for a rezone for an I industrial to R3 residential for property located at 0 Happy Valley Road, Rossville, Georgia. Tax map and parcel 0136017. Is anyone here that wants to speak in opposition of this rezone request tonight? Any opposition on the parcel on Happy Valley Road? Okay, anyone here wants to speak in favor of this project? Yes, sir, come up, please.
Hi there, my name is Hamilton Brock. I am a local real estate agent representing my client who would like to take this property owned by Mrs. Catherine Cash and build approximately 75 luxury rental individual cottages on this property. It's the type of development is such that they're rentals, but they kind of give you the advantage of owning a home without the actual mortgage. So these this type of development is unique for those who may be young families and individuals who may not be able to obtain a mortgage at this point, but want to live in an environment where they can have a home. So it's very much a small community in such that they will have its own swimming pool, a gym, dog park, beautifully landscaped. But again, market rate, very nice luxury cottages. So, last week I was asked by Mr. Pierce and a few others to see if I could get some information by calling the local high schools principals, Karen Hughes at Ridgeland, and then also Brandon Musgrove at Stone Creek Elementary. I was able to do that. I had a great conversation with both of those individuals. Mr. Musgrove did say, after requesting more information from me and our flyer and what it would be and what it would look like, he said he was actually going to take that to the school, his school board, I guess, next week. So unfortunately, I don't have an exact response from him yet. They're going to wait. So if this may be a better chance to table this, I'm understanding of that. Although I did speak to Ms. Hughes, who was in favor of it. She says there's obviously, you add that many new residents, it's going to create a little bit of a burden for the school itself. But she says one of the things that she appreciates about this type of environment is that she has school teachers who live in Dalton all the way up to Soddy Daisy who are renters. And she said this is a nice complement to the development that's going next door, potentially with Mr. Higgin's development or something else. And I said, yeah, I think this is going to be fairly unique to this community. So I was able to do that. I was also asked by Mr. Pierce at that time to see if we had a traffic study, to which we had not at that point, but we have secured a firm who will be doing that and are in the process. So again, I feel like I'm about 50% of the way there, and I apologize for not having that, but that study is underway and we are doing that.
Appreciate the information. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
So another thing that was brought up is that easement that goes through the middle of your property.
Yes.
That easement belongs to the folks that are building the Barbenders plant in the back, is that correct?
It is. Yes, sir.
Have you talked to them about moving that, or will it stay where it is?
They are amenable to moving it. I haven't had a formal dialogue with the owner yet, but I have had dialogues with people who know them, and they said they're willing to have that conversation. I just haven't been able to. Again, it was only a week ago that we were doing that, and I just haven't been able to complete my study. But we have been told by another party that they're very amenable to moving that to one side of the property that would make more sense for that residential, community there.
Yeah, okay.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
What kind of time frame do you think it's going to take for you to get this additional information for us that you?
I think if this committee meets every 2 weeks, I can come back to you in 2 weeks and get all that information. So that would be great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to close out our public hearings on our planning and zoning. At this time, the board members, you have the minutes from our August 12th meeting that we had at 8 o'clock, which was a public hearing that was required. We have to have one public hearing in the morning for the millage rate, and we did that at 8 o'clock up at the Civic Center in Rock Springs. And so you do have the minutes from that public hearing. So do we have a motion to approve these minutes from that meeting?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Stolz. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Askew. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we approve these minutes. Okay, we did have our next public hearing at 6:30 here at the Walker County Annex 3. This also was the public hearing about the millage rate. Okay, so we have a motion to approve this minutes.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, these are approved. Okay, we had a public hearing at 7 o'clock that evening as well, and this was to go over a public hearing as far as our landfill expansion. So we do have the minutes from that, and we have a motion to approve these minutes from the August 12th public hearing on the landfill.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Blakemore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Askew. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll approve these. Okay, also on August the 12th was our regular scheduled commissioners meeting. You do have the minutes from that. From that meeting, do we have a motion to approve this minutes?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Stoltz. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes are approved as presented. Okay, at this time, this is where we have in our agenda for public comment. And so we do ask people to, when they make their public comment, that we recognize just one person at a time, and that we do ask you to come to the podium so we can hear you and get you on camera, and also so the microphone will pick up as well. So we do ask you to keep your comments within that 5-minute time frame. So I do want to ask, how many of you are here tonight that want to make comments in and around the Gateway project? Okay, so we do have a few. Okay, all right, so who wants to be first? Okay, yes ma'am, please come on. Please state your name for us if you would.
My name is Kisha Parker. I live in Mission Glen subdivision, and we're here to ask that you resign from your position for the illegal rezoning of that property. It was not done legally. It did not fall through the cracks, as a lot of people have been told. You're very meticulous about your meeting, so there's no way that this one time just fell through the cracks. We have brought up several concerns that we have with that area. Nothing has been done about any of them. It's ignored repeatedly, but yet you just keep piling on more housing, more traffic to that already dangerous intersection. We're worried about our community and about the kids, and we're very sad that you're not doing anything about it. And we're here to ask you to resign. It's ridiculous what's happened and how we've just been pushed aside, and nothing's been done for our community, for the safety of our community. That should be top priority, not making money, not revenue. It should be the community, and we're very disappointed.
Okay, who would like to come up next? Yes, ma'am, please come up.
I'm Angela Pence. I'm also here to ask you to resign. It blows my mind, really. I've watched it over the last several years, how when it comes time for an election, you use Rossville, you champion Rossville. And then when it comes to their citizens coming to you with issues, you sweep them under the rug. You have people like Robert that are trying to do good, and then you, for whatever reason, decide to do this. I'm not going to pretend to even try to understand why you did this illegally. To me, it makes no sense. The only thing I can grasp is that you wanted to get it pushed through before you were held accountable by anybody else. I'm not really sure why, though, and I'm curious to actually know why. And I think that you deserve, or you should tell the people why you made that decision, because it's very clear that they don't want it, and they have made it clear as to why. And for whatever reason, they're not being heard. And I'm curious as to why. This doesn't even affect me, actually. I live in Chickamauga. This has no effect to me, no bearing. It bothers the out of me that you keep ignoring the people that, oh, I'm gonna throw you some lights on Happy Valley come election time. What's next? What are you gonna promise them next? To get reelected and then just go on ignoring them. They don't deserve that. Quit. You could have put this anywhere else. There's so much land everywhere else in Walker County, but for some reason, Rossville is the perfect place for that, and I'm really curious as to why. Why would that be the perfect place for a low-income housing? Well, you have somebody great who's gonna bring in luxury-style homes. Who's here complaining about that? Nobody. You know as well as I do, and the people in Rossville, as well as he, I'm sure, knows. Courtney lives out there. They know what it's like in their community, and they don't want it. Yet you keep pushing it through. That is not your job. Your job is to represent them. Give them your answer.
Okay, who's next? Yes, sir.
Barry Lamb. Mr. Chairman, what you did was wrong. You know it was wrong. You, like she said, you're very meticulous. You pushed this through for whatever reasons. These people here are represented by our commissioners. It is these commissioners that need to listen to these people, whatever they want. And I hope that y'all think real hard about this as our commissioners that we voted for, that the people voted for y'all so this kind of stuff does not happen anymore. They want y'all to represent them, to listen to their needs, to their wants. I'm not going to take up any time because there's a lot of people that need to speak, but I hope tonight y'all listen hard. Even if y'all don't have a dog in the hunt and it's in Mr. Blakemore's district, it's his constituents that are listening to him, or that he needs to be listening to. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name's Paul Page. I own a home at 12 Rockbrook Cove in Mission Glen. I've owned it for roughly 34 years. And I was invited to a meeting where you were talking about a rezoning. And we talked a little bit about it at the meeting, and you dismissed it. I never saw my other rezoning, and I asked the question, was there anything done to let Gateway go ahead and make some moves on that property without it being coming back under the legal aspect of the second reading? Can we say that we did or we did not?
When you say moves, we're trying to...
Does Gateway having a contract to do anything on that land?
Not to my knowledge, it has not been approved, no, sir.
Okay, so it has not been approved.
No, sir.
Okay, now that's what a lot of us don't understand. We're redoing it. We're having the first reading on the 12th or 16th of this month, and then one in October. And that's to go back and put the leaves on the tree that we pulled off, is my understanding. Now, I don't know your records and what you got, but my understanding is it had already been approved by you, and we're trying to put the leaves back on the tree from a November meeting. So Gateway has already got the permission to do some things through the planning commission and there. Now, if that's true, then, we ought to own up to it if we did it. And if we didn't, we're gonna try to find out if it happened. And if it did, there's gotta be some repercussions about it if we have to. And I live in that subdivision. I'm talking about 179 homes. And I visited probably every one of them except maybe a couple, 3. And there are 2 people that have said, hey, we don't care. The rest of them don't want it there. They want to leave it as a commercial land throughout that area or a single-family resident in that area. I know the first 300 feet is commercial. So if that's the case and we're coming up to rezone, our commissioner in the District 1 to bring forth something that would say, hey, we want to rezone this thing as commercial land and not let them build homes there. You're going to flood that area with traffic. I went there the other day when they first opened school. Well, you couldn't drive through there. It took me 20 minutes to go 15, 20 miles. I mean, just not 3 miles, I'm sorry. I came from Rossville out that way. It took forever to get there. And it's going to get a lot worse. And I've seen no plan of anything to handle the traffic if you introduce more homes. Now, you've got houses on the Wilson roadside across from the church. And I understand there's something else coming on the church side down toward Rossville. But the problem is going to be, where are you going to put the cars that are coming out in those areas? No matter what you do, it's going to be a mess. And if you go ahead and approve it, and I'm going to ask you not to, don't approve it. Go ahead and make it commercial all the way through, or single-family residential to keep the car load down. I thank you for your time.
Okay, who would like to be next to speak? I think you were wanting to speak. Yeah, you would like to come on up now? No, it's a different topic, but no, come on up. Yeah, it doesn't have to be about this particular topic. Anyone can speak. Please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is O.J. Miller, and I've got 2 issues that I wanted to present here tonight. I haven't really had a discussion with any of the board members, but 2 things that are very concerning to me. I'm 59 years old. I probably don't have a whole lot of more years on this earth, but I've got children and I've got grandchildren, and I've got some things that concern me. The number 1 thing is the fact that I hope all of us know that our election was stolen. And my concern that I'm bringing up about this is the fact that it was stolen by foreign enemies through the machines.
Yeah.
There was 400,000, there's proof that there's 400,000 plus votes that were flipped in the state of Georgia. Now let's put that in just a little bit of a perspective. If all of North Georgia, let's say there's only 50% Republican, I know it's higher than that, then you could pretty much say that all of our votes were canceled. Now, how does that make you feel? If you voted Republican, you voted for Trump, and that vote got taken away from you by a foreign entity. Well, you say, they tell you the machines weren't on the internet. Well, obviously they were, but also if there's Wi-Fi, you can actually flip votes in those machines through your cell phone, even if it's not on the internet, from my understanding. I'm not a cyber tech, but from what I've been able to learn. So I'm here tonight to suggest to you, commissioners, and to challenge you to do something about getting rid of the machines.
Amen.
And also, do not, let me ask you this, are they Dominion machines? Yes. Okay. Do not let Dominion come in and do a trusted build, as they call it, which will then erase all data from the previous election, which you are duty-bound to hold for 22 months. Now, I'm saying that because I do believe we need a forensic audit. Now, also, Walker County was one of the few that was not hacked in the state of Georgia. There's no evidence from what has been presented from the packet captures that Walker County was not hacked in. But what about next time? What about 2022? What about 2024? We've got to get rid of the machines. All right, enough on that subject. One more thing. I am very concerned about our freedoms in America. And I know we look at things on the national level, but you know what? We got to start down here at the local level. I personally have not taken the vaccine, and I ain't going to take it. My thought to you as commissioners is this. Do not let businesses in this county mandate their employees to take a vaccine that's an experimental vaccine, it's really not a vaccine, that don't want to take it. Now, if you want to take it, if that's your priority, that's your business, it's your body, it's your choice. But it should not be mandated. If somebody, I don't know that Roper's mandated, and I'm afraid they're going to, but if somebody's been working at Roper for years, they come into that place never signing anything that they're going to be subject to something like that, and they're going to spring it on them and tell them that's their job if they don't take it. That's wrong. That's unconstitutional. I've got a daughter that works at Erlanger, and I know that's Tennessee. She's an RN, and she's very concerned that they're going to try to mandate this. She don't want to take it because, first of all, it's been proven it causes, what do they call it, sterility, to become sterile in young women and young men. And, you know, we don't need this kind of thing in our country. But here again, if you want to take it, that's your priority, but it should not be mandated. And I'm suggesting that y'all look into this to make sure that we don't have businesses in Walker County that say it's your job or a vaccine. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, please. Please state your name.
My name is Jenny Reinhardt, that's G-I-N-I. I was here last week at your last meeting, and I said something about the businesses that are being run on Schmidt and Rogers. And I haven't really seen anything that's been done at all. And Commissioner Askew, I heard you tell Leslie Bruce, who was here with me last week, that you said, oh yeah, we'll get together and we'll go over every point. Okay, well, Leslie's not heard from you. And the property that we said where she doesn't even cut her grass, nothing has been done. The house, we call it the big house in the neighborhood because, I mean, who builds a $250,000 house in a neighborhood where barely the houses are worth $100,000? I mean, the story on the street is the guy that built the house is from another country because I know they speak another language. And obviously he does not understand the American culture of how we live. And so now he found out that we're upset with what he's doing. So what he does, he puts this big, ugly white fence all the way around his business. So they're still over there, and they're still running the called Goon Squad, Goonz QUAD, and they're making money hand over fist over there. And I don't see anything being done at all. I mean, the girl hadn't even cut her grass. And so I don't understand why nothing can be done. I mean, we're up here griping about it, and I don't see anything at all, and I don't understand why. This man, I understand, won the lottery that built this big house, so obviously he has money. So I understand that money talks and BS walks, and I hope that's not true in this case. I hope that's not true. So I'm up here again pleading my case for the second time to ask you require these businesses to cease and desist their operations. This is a residential area. I want to keep it residential. When I bought this property 15 years ago, the building was not there. The house was there, but the garage was not. It's only been built the last couple of years. So he said, oh, it's been there for years. Well, he's lying to you. So obviously he's blowing smoke up your nose, and you're believing him when we're the residents that live there and nobody wants to listen to us. So I'm concerned about this. And I'm a little angry because, I mean, if we can't even get a girl to cut her grass, how are we going to get this guy to, quit doing business here? And Leslie said that Leslie Bruce said that she checked for building permits on Rawson Boulevard and Dodds, and there are no building permits to build a garage for repairs. There is no, so evidently he's still blowing smoke up everybody's nose, and people are believing him. And so I'm angry that nothing has been done, and the grass has not been cut, and nothing's been done. And I really thought that we would hear from you by now, Commissioner Askew, but we have
I'll
not.
address that with you right now. I have several where me and Miss Leslie have missed each other in texting.
Okay.
I did tell her when I've got the texts on there where we've communicated via text.
Okay.
I've not been able to get up there and meet with her, but I've not ignored it, and I'm following up on it. So
All right.
that's your answer.
Okay, I will believe that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir, the hat. No, we'll get you.
It's a Trump hat, so I get to go. Yeah, I'd like to address the issue. My name's Mike C. Kelly. I live in Mission Glen, and I would like to say 15 years ago, I built my dream home up there. What I don't understand is why there's a lot of property in a lot of different places. Right up the road here, there's 20 acres that he could build those beautiful condos. He could just build them up there. I mean, why do you guys have to take and target an area, a beautiful area there on 2A, right across from the high school where the intersection is just, I mean, there's been so many wrecks there. I don't have the data, but it's there. And I just think that is, I think it's crazy. I can remember back when I lived on Crestview right off of Wilson Road. A developer came in there and they said, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and it's going to be beautiful. And they put a bunch of trailers almost in front of my house. They talk about, they're going to put in a pool. Well, the kids were happy. Of course, the pool never happened. What's to say that this is, I mean, is this going to be the same thing? Is this going to be like, we're going to go in and have a happy, it's going to be a fun place, just look lovely. And then end up, it's just going to be some more, a dump. I mean, what's to ensure that, we're not going to, this is not going to change once we get into this? I mean, I oppose having low-income housing, or the Happy Farm, there across from the high school, from Ridgeland High School, which is just right off from where I live on the hill. I don't understand that. I think there should be another way to go, or somewhere else to put this thing. Just saying. And one other thing I'd like to say, criminals belong in jail, and criminal acts should not be tolerated, especially with officials. Thanks.
Who would like to come next? Oh, I'm sorry, I was coming to you, I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
My name's David Bolt. I've been dealing, well, let me start back. I bought a piece of property beside my home about 5 years ago, and I've been trying to deal with the county over this for 5 years. What has happened is when I bought the property, there's a tremendous excess of water running down Grand Center Road that I live on. There's about a 3,000-foot, literally, strip of land or road on Grand Center that's curbed on both sides. There is nowhere for the water to get out of the road until it gets down to where my property is. So when I bought this land several years ago, 5 years ago, we started clearing it and did a lot of work on it, put a very expensive fence in, and I was having water run off Grand Center Road by the thousands of gallons, literally, onto my property. And I called the county about it, to have something done about it. The road department supervisor came down and looked, wanted me to take pictures, and I taught school for 30 years, so I've dealt with the public, and I've been on the board at Dalton College and Walker Tech, and I've dealt with government officials, and I know how government works. So when he said take pictures, that's exactly what I started doing. So I took pictures of water coming in my property. It's 6 inches deep, coming off of the road, which is the county's responsibility to keep that water off of people's property. So what happened was I discovered that the drains on both sides of the road had been concreted over to eliminate the water from going in the drain, and it continued right on down Grand Center Road. And I said, if you'll open these drains up and let this water in these drains, it'll quit coming in my drive, which was down beyond the drain. So they opened the drains, and lo and behold, my problem stopped. That problem stopped. But what had happened, and you need to understand bear with me, what had happened was there was an 18-inch tile, pretty good sized tiles, 1.5 foot diameter, for about 600 feet that many years ago the tile had evidently broken, and the drain has been clogged for way before I ever bought the property. So when they opened the drain up, it created a 20-year-old problem that the county put a Band-Aid on by concreting over the drain, and now what's happening is all the water's going down into the drain and it can't get out. So it's bubbling up out of the ground, and I have photographs of this where I've taken tape measures. I've got holes that are bigger than a basketball, 12, 16 holes in a straight line, 2.5 feet deep, and I've nearly turned my zero-turn mower over twice. I've had to buy dirt to fill the holes. It gets washed back out. I bought gravel to fill the holes. It has gotten washed out. I have talked with the county road superintendent, Mr. Bowers, till I am sick and blue in the face. We'll get your problem fixed in the spring. We'll get your problem fixed in the fall. Spring and fall came, spring and fall went. Nothing got done next year. Well, we're busy with the road cutting. We've got too much grass. We've got this, we've got that. They didn't want to get it fixed. So I started calling your office about 2.5 or 3 years ago. You never once returned my call. I've got dates and times that I talked with your secretary, probably a dozen times that you refused to call me back over this issue. And about a month ago, because you didn't know who I was, you accidentally answered the phone and said, hello, this is Shannon, can I help you? And I said, this is David Bolt. Have you got a minute? And you said, well, I'm in a meeting right now. I'll have to call you back. You weren't in a meeting. If you'd been in a meeting, you wouldn't have answered the phone. But you answered the phone and did that, hung up, and it's been a month and you haven't called me back. And on top of that, 2 years ago, I was talking with somebody in the city of Chickamauga. I live right outside the city limits of Chickamauga. He's the city manager. He said he was going to talk with you about this problem, which he did. And he told me point blank, you agreed to meet he and I to address the problem. 2.5 years ago, next Friday or next Thursday or week and a half, you set a date, you never showed. You never came, never showed. Then about a year later, one of your county employees came to you and looked at the problem on my property and told you that it was definitely a county liability. If I had got hurt on my mower, I'd have sued the county. If a kid on a bicycle was riding down the side of the road and fell into that hole, he could have sued the county. So a county employee, one of your employees came to you and told you this. You said, tell David I'll meet him. You never showed up. A sheriff's deputy one day, I was down there filling these holes up with gravels and wheelbarrow. After the 5th year, a sheriff's deputy came by and said, what are you doing out there, David? I said, I'm filling these dead blame holes up that I've been dealing with the county. I nearly crashed my mower, and it's a definite liability to this county to get this fixed. And it's not only my property. Now the water is running out of the road, down the road, and my neighbors had to buy dirt and put a berm in his yard to keep all this water, again, thousands of gallons of water from going through his yard, and his yard looked like a lake for the last 4 years. He builds a berm, now the water's going back out into the road. So even though the drains are letting the water in, it's coming out, it's going down and dumping right back out into the road. My question, I've got several questions. One, due to ineptness of the county, 5 years of dealing with this should have gotten fixed. And I should not have to be here addressing you, asking you why you haven't gotten it done when your road superintendent hasn't done anything about it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's on county right-of-way property. It's not my responsibility to have to pay out of my pocket to get this thing done. If this does not get done, I'm going to hire an attorney, and I'm going to sue the county. Then you'll get it fixed, and then I'm going to get my attorney's fees back. 5 years of this is enough. Go ahead.
Okay. I apologize that I have not gotten back with you. I thought
For 3 years.
I thought your problem had been fixed.
Why?
Okay.
Why? Why would you think that?
Because I knew there was an open work order on it, and I thought that work order had been handled. But
How did you think it had been handled? Unless you read it, this work order has been handled. You didn't think.
I do apologize to you, and I will get with you tomorrow. But we need to move forward, okay?
How are you going to get in touch with me tomorrow?
I've got your note on my desk from 2 weeks ago.
So you knew
I
2
will
weeks
call
ago
you
it
tomorrow.
hadn't been fixed?
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Bolton. Okay, who's next?
My name is Karen Bradley. I really didn't come to talk tonight, but I am in support for these folks in Rossville. Mainly because of the same thing that's happening in our area. And it's talking about Healthy Foundations. I don't know if many of y'all know what Healthy Foundations is, but it was refused in the county of Catoosa County. Our commissioner's office, whether you were directly involved or not, there's a letter that came out of his office that hosted a White House dinner back last August. And since then, we have heard that the farm had sold. It's 396 acres for a complex that is going to have an array of folks on it. From folks coming out of the system, youth, folks coming out of drug rehab trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives, from battered women. And here lately they've been riding on the Veterans Trail, trying to get support because of the veterans. What they're trying to do is just get their federal money. I actually work with the federal government, and I know how those trips work. The Duck Creek runs right through the center of this, and it's a trout stream. There's a lot of drainage issues that come through there when we have heavy rains. And back in 2009, in September 27th of 2009, we had a severe flood that moved a lot of dirt, a lot of objects. I live on the back side of this place, but I also farm south of this. And the creek runs right through it. On South Burnt Mill Road, last year, our SPLOSH dollars, our tax dollars paid for paving that road. That road is narrow. For the amount of traffic they're planning on putting on that road, along with Gilbert Elementary, is going to be dangerous for our elementary students and our parents. We've already had a couple of students killed on that crossroad, and I don't want to have another one. Our former governors, Roy Barnes and Nathan Deal, have gotten on board, and they've been flying over with helicopters. They plan on, in the next 3 years, raising for this company $150 million. It's going to cost the city of Lafayette to get water and sewer just to the gate, $21.2 million. Wow. I was born in this building. I'm from Lafayette, and I haven't even worked 2 miles from this building in my entire life. It infuriates me for the liability that they're going to cause my friends and families. All the farms that join this, or nearly all of them, are several generation farms that have been owned by the grandparents, the parents, and the children. I don't know what else to say, but I'm very opposed to it. And if me, my son, my family get hurt on this road because of the traffic that's going to be put on it, I will damn well sue this county myself.
Anyone else like to speak? Okay, we're going to move on. Okay.
Actually, I'm not going to do too much extemporaneous here.
State your name.
Elliot Pierce. I think we all know last year you and the county were sued for not turning over documents. A document you had in your possession that was a rightful public record you didn't turn over. You said, no, it didn't exist, actually. That was what happened. So, and then in the end, the county had to pay the attorney's fees for us to get that record. And they admitted they did have it. Came out in the messenger. So we can't really trust you at this point. So we need an investigation. Whoever calls for it, I don't care, but we need an investigation. And I'll end with the words of Charles Weltner, the former Supreme Court Justice. In his last appeal that he gave at the Supreme Court, he said, over the past decade, as I see it, our court has breathed life into some old words that have lain dormant within our Constitution for most of the century-old existence. The words are, public officers are trustees and servants of the people and are at all times amenable to the people. We have established that this is no empty phrase, but an obligation that is enforceable in a court of law. Public men and women, above all others, must be of good faith. Neither facile excuse nor clever dissimulation can serve instead of duty. Faithfully performed, because public men and women are amenable at all times to the people. They must conduct the people's business out in the open. And you haven't done that, and that's why you need to resign. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's Charles Hancock, and I'm not a public speaker, but Shannon, as you know, as you've listened and seen these people out here, most of this stuff is aimed where, Shannon? It's aimed at you. And why is it, Shannon? Us, the one you asked us to vote for you, that you lied about something that we are desperately wanting fixed. You're put into office. Why? To make sure you take care of us, not Shannon. There's nobody else asking these other people anything. They're asking you. So I want to know something. I've heard you address somebody. Heard you address somebody. I want to ask you, Shannon. Was there a second public meeting? Was they? Answer to these people.
I'll address that here in a moment.
Yeah. Well, I've heard you talk to the other people up here, so what's the
I
problem?
just don't want to use your time.
Well, it's fine, because I'm not going to talk long. But we are asking you to resign, Shannon. You was our hope when BB was in and drowning us. But you are not anymore, Shannon. I don't know what happened to you, but something happened to you. And you can take it as personal as you want it, because that's the way it's meant.
Okay, talking about the Gateway project. We took, when the application come in, and we went through the procedures to properly notify what has to be done in the paper, the legal organ, and also the signs that have to be put up. We had the first meeting, which was done at the planning office, or excuse me, at the Civic Center by the Planning Commission. The second meeting was held here. Hold on. But it was tabled, okay? It was tabled at that time. So that meeting was advertised and people were here to speak, but the developer asked for that to be tabled and we tabled it. I made a commitment to many of you that were here then that once we got more information, we would have another meeting. And so that other meeting that we had, we sent out invitations to the residents of Mission Glen, making them aware of that meeting that we held at the Civic Center to talk about all the development at the Happy Valley Road area. And if memory serves me, there was probably 40 plus people. How many people were here tonight that was at that meeting? Okay, several of you were here. And it was, I mean, I guess that meeting probably went well over an hour, hour and a half. There was a lot of good discussion and comment that was had. One of the things that we talked about was the paving of the road in Mission Glen subdivision, which is on the 2022 paving list to pave this year. We talked about speed going through there. We talked a lot of things about that area. The mistake that I made is that that meeting was not advertised as a public meeting in the legal organ. There was a period of time of delay from that. And so when the developer was ready to move forward on that project, we put it on our regular agenda. I did not think about going back and looking to see if we had advertised that. So it did not get advertised. When it came on the agenda, I approved that zoning. That was a mistake. I messed up. I publicly messed up. I made that mistake.
Why, Shannon?
Legally.
It was just an error that it wasn't. No, hold, you're out of order. You're out of order. Okay? So, when it was brought to our attention a few days ago that that was done improperly because it was not advertised, we didn't have that second official public meeting because it had been tabled. Very quickly, we said, well, we got to fix this. So we didn't want to just go and say, well, we're going to pick up from the first meeting and have the second meeting. We got with the developer and said, look, we wish you would just reapply, do a new application. We have a new board of commissioners. If you would just reapply, put a new application in, and let's completely do 100% the entire process. So that's what is being put in motion now, is to completely redo that process. That's why, hold on, you're out of order. You're out of order. You had your time. All of you had your time. Y'all were wanting explanation, and that's what I'm trying to explain. So, okay, so that process has been restarted. So that information is being posted again. The public notices are being done. The yellow signs will be put out. It will go back before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Those dates are already set, and then it will come before this full board to make the final decision on the rezoning of that property. So nothing is taking place, nothing is moving forward with the development until it goes back through the entire complete process of the proper zoning. That was the mistake that I made. So that's what's taking place. Those advertisements are moving forward, and we will have those public hearings that everyone can attend.
It wasn't just a mistake.
It was a mistake. No, sir, your time is up. We've got to move forward.
Can the public still?
You're out of order. Elliot, you're out of order. You know the rules.
I do know the rules.
You're out of order.
Apparently you don't. But
Okay, we're going to move forward on our new business. So we have a resolution, R 3721, to adopt the millage rate for the unincorporated and the incorporated area of Walker County.
You owe these people better, Shannon, and you know it.
Resolution R 3721, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to adopt a millage rate for the unincorporated and incorporated area of Walker County, Georgia. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Walker County Board is the governing authority of Walker County, Georgia. And whereas pursuant to the authority vested in the board, and it appearing that the total property subject to levy for maintenance and operations after allowance for the exemptions, deductions, is 8.313 for the unincorporated area of Walker County and 11.963 for the incorporated area of Walker County. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, Georgia, being duly elected, hereby levy tax and fixed rate as follows. The unincorporated, the net millage rate will be 8.313. The incorporated, the net millage rate will be 11.963. So this would be approved and adopted after the board takes action of this on the 26th day of August 2021. So we have a motion from the board to approve this resolution to set the millage rate.
Motion to adopt the millage rate as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Blakemore. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this resolution is approved as presented by the board. Give this to the clerk to attest. Okay, these are additional documents to sign for that as well. Okay, next item that we have is a resolution R 3821, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Walker County to authorize the chairman to execute stormwater management agreements, whereas the Board of Commissioners of Walker County Board is the governing authority of Walker County, Georgia, and whereas Walker County Code of Ordinance requires landowners or developers to file a stormwater management plan and maintenance agreement with the county prior to conducting land disturbance activity. And whereas the board has determined that it is the best interest of the county to grant signing ability and authority to certain persons described hereunder in order to expedite development activities in the county. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Walker County, that the board chairman is hereby authorized and empowered to take all action necessary to appropriate in the execution of any and all written instruments pertaining to stormwater management for Walker County, including delegating and said action to the Director of the Planning and Zoning. So resolved and adopted the 26th day of August 2021. Anytime a development or has a stormwater management plan, that has to be recorded onto the deed. And so the Planning Commission makes up the documents once that project has been completed. And this is signed by the developer and also by the county, and is filed on the deed, so there's a record that anyone that ever looked at that property or there was any deed transfer, they would know that there is an agreement in place with the county to maintain a stormwater program for that property. So is there any questions or comments from the board on this? No, sir. Okay, hearing none, we'll move for a motion to approve. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Motion approved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Stoltz. Do we have a second?
I'll
We
second.
have a second by Commissioner Askew. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution's approved by the board. Okay, we have a purchase order 2021-2017 to Municipal Emergency Services for 6 air packs, X3 Pro SCBAs with snap charge cylinders, connections, and 18 snap charge cylinders for Walker County Fire and Rescue, totaling $48,346.02, funding from the 2021 budget. So Blake Hodge, you want to speak to this tonight, please, sir?
Good evening. This request for the 6 air packs and 18 cylinders is a part of our equipment replacement program that we started in this fiscal year. The money is in the current budget to do this, and it's going to be a reoccurring request that we have moving forward each year. This is to prevent us from having to replace, 20 or 30 at one time, costing more. So this is something that we need and that we've been planning for.
Okay. So the air packs are $5,377.29 each for a subtotal of $32,263.74. The cylinders, there's 18 of those for $893.46 for a subtotal of $16,082.28 for a total purchase order of $48,346.02. One question I have, tell us again what the life expectancy is on these cylinders, or how often y'all are needing to replace those?
So on the cylinders, it's a 15-year life. There are some that were purchased off a grant years ago that were 22 years, I believe. But our air packs, I've got some numbers here for you. 205 of the harnesses of the actual air pack, not the cylinders, were purchased between 1996 and 2006. Now, the harnesses are good as long as you can keep them in service, and we have individuals that are trained, and we do our internal maintenance on them. So we have a lot of out-of-service packs that we're still parting out to try to keep our in-service air packs going. So the harness itself, as long as it'll pass the test and we can replace parts, they're good as long as they'll stay in service. The cylinders that we have are 15 years.
Okay. You board have any questions, comments?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a request here from our chief to replace this equipment. It is out of the budget for 2021. Do we have a motion to approve this purchase order request?
I'll motion that we approve the purchase of these new equipment at the total of $48,346.02.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Askew. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Blakemore. Any further discussion of the board?
No, sir.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the purchase order is approved. Okay, we do have a purchase order 2021-2027 to Chase Reline to slip line a pipe at 237 Overbrook Drive from the Walker County Road Department. So Carlin Bowers, please come up if you would and give us an overview on the slip lining of this pipe in the Mission Glen subdivision.
To round 237 Overbrook Drive. That road's on our paving project for 2021. The flood, we had a flood back in April, I believe. Washed out a pretty big section of some catch basins, some drains. Found that they were all metal pipes, all rusted out. There is about 160 feet of this that needs to be done. Slip lining, they will put a 36-inch snap-tight solid wall HDPE pipe in, grout. They'll pump grout around everything, fill in the void, patch everything up around our catch basin, and there's no excavation involved. And they can do it. We don't have to close the road, and that seems to be the most feasible thing to do here.
So they're sliding a 36-inch pipe inside a larger pipe?
Yes, yeah.
So how do they get the same flow through there?
The plastic is, right, the plastic pipe has the same flow rate as the pipe that's in it.
So what would be the cost difference between the 67,200 versus digging it up and fixing?
Going through the front yard of that where this resident is, digging all of that up, would have to build a new retention wall on his property, pull all that pipe. It was going to be roughly around $14,000, I think, just for the pipe. And then I don't know what utilities are going through the yard, relocates for all of that. It would stack up pretty good.
I know when you mentioned this to me earlier, you was very concerned too about the utilities that were running through there.
I know that there is a gas line that is either over this pipe. It would have to have been moved. There's a water line in there that would have to do something with it. So it would have cost us a pretty good bit.
I'm just covering the bases. I mean, that's a lot of money. So what guarantee do we have this? I mean, are they giving us any guarantee with this work, or?
We done this, the flood, we had the flood on Easter Sunday. So we had a 96-inch pipe under a railroad trestle and under a road. We had this done. I mean, as far as a guarantee that it's going to fix it, we hadn't discussed that, but there's no reason why it's not going to work. Everything is working on the one we've done already.
Yeah, I mean, just my concern, I don't know about the other board members. I mean, this is $67,200 for what seems to me to be a patch fix. I mean, you can say, rather than dig it up and fix it.
Well, I've seen it done. I was just asking about the volume of it. I think it's a good way to do it because you don't have all the excavation, you don't have the E&S permits to pull or any of that stuff because you're doing it. And they slide that pipe through there and they grab it, right, with pressure grout until it's sealed up. So I can see where it would work. I mean, it's a lot of money, yeah, but I don't know what the cost difference would be to excavate it and lay an HDPE pipe in. I don't know. Probably not, probably more than that, I would think.
Having someone else do it, yeah, I'm sure it would be way more.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be able to do it at this point.
This also included installing the bulkheads and to build an outlet, inlet and outlet into the structure.
I mean, that's just my only concern. I just want to make sure we're getting some kind of guarantee if we're spending.
We're running into more and more of these corrugated pipes once they get, about 20, 25 years old or so.
A lot of them
they're rusted out. A lot of them are failing.
Oh, yeah, we replace them every month, I guess, when I was at the county.
So we have had good success going with the plastic and slip lining. Especially the one he was talking about under that railroad. Was pretty. Shinbone? Was it?
Shinbone Ridge Spur, the dead end portion out there. Yeah.
And that was one of the concerns with this one. There's so many other obstacles and it going into private property as well and tearing all that up.
And plus, if in the excavation part, we'd have had to tear out the catch basin and rebuild it. This way, we don't have to do that. They'll go.
In there, a pretty good percentage of that is, you said, on private property too. What's the total distance on that?
160 feet.
And about probably half of it better on the private property or most of it?
There's about 40 of that's ours.
That's ours, so okay, so only 20, about 2/3 of it. private property.
And we have to do all of it in order to keep our catch basin. I mean, we'd have to restructure the whole area there if we just done our part. So, yeah. It's all part of that stormwater system that's there in that subdivision.
Okay, any other questions of the board? Okay. We have a motion to approve this purchase order as requested.
Yes, motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hart. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Blakemore. Any further discussion or questions of the board? Hearing
Yes,
none, I'll-
Mr.
oh,
one
sorry.
more thing, so, in your dealings with them, Carlin, so you're replacing a 48-inch CMP pipe with a 36-inch smooth pipe,
Yes.
just to ensure that you got the same,
Flow rate.
yes.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
a little different.
there's, I do have a chart, apologize for not
Okay.
bringing that, but there is a
Okay.
chart that explains all of
Okay,
it.
good.
Flow rates, fraction, friction factor,
Right.
and ripple
I
effect, and all
I
of
got
that.
it. Okay.
Good question. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, purchase order's approved. You stay right there with us, Carl. Okay, purchase order 2021-2028, Chase Free Line Slip Line for a culvert on West Cove Road, totaling $98,850 as well. So Carlin, give us an overview on this one on the southern end of West Cove Road.
So this is one of 3 projects that we've got to do on West Cove before we proceed with the paving. Clean and prep existing 76-inch CMP structure that is currently in failing conditions. They will be putting a 65 feet long, putting a 66-inch spiral life HDPE pipe in a 76-inch pipe. Slip line in the 76-inch with 66-inch. They'll be building bulkheads. There will be head walls and wing walls poured and placed on the inlet side, riprap on the outlet. There again, no excavation, no road closure. It's a pretty big structure here. Just time, no given the time and everything. We looked at spin cast. Seemed like a pretty good option, but I felt like there was some void in there that we couldn't find or wouldn't be able to fill in with spin cast. Getting something this size right now is pretty difficult. Would be on a waiting list for a while.
For supply, to get that size tile.
Right. Given they're handling all of the head walls and wing walls, riprap, this will be the best option in that situation.
Because on all of these 3 on West Cove, you looked at 3 different options on every one of
Yes.
these.
Yeah.
So on those options,
We've looked at some box culverts, 3-week closures. We'd have to close the road for 3 weeks, wait on someone to be able to do it. Spin cast was one of the other non-excavation options we had. Just the sheer size of it, digging it up, dealing with the water mains. A whole lot of different things going on there. Seemed like the best option here is just to slip line this one.
okay, any questions for Carlin on this?
No, sir. I would like to see that chart you got though.
Okay.
If you can send it to me. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this purchase order for $98,850 for a slip line on West Cove.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Stoltz. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, purchase order is approved. Okay, Carlin, our next purchase order, purchase order 2021-2029 with Tally Construction to remove and replace a culvert on West Cove Road. So this would be the one step back north, in front of the Cross Farm, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about this one.
The one the next one up at the Cross Farm, they are taking out a 60-inch, putting back a 72-inch concrete. This particular culvert has been replaced. I believe we've done this one once. Anyhow, it's rusted out the bottom. When we have a flood situation, it's taking material from the road through the pipe and out into the fields. We believe that 60 inch is too small for that area, so we're going with 72-inch concrete. They are putting the pipe in, head wall, wing walls on the inlet, riprap both ends. We will have to close the road on this one. It shouldn't be no more than 4 days, 3 to 4 days, give or take. So, I mean,
Should I open the whole road at one time, not half of it?
They probably could, but as narrow as it is through there,
understood.
there's not a lot of, we have some slight detours there that we can handle. I believe it'll work a lot faster if we just close it, let them do their thing, and then move out.
Another thing too on this one's pretty deep.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not big enough, and we have flash floods. We're really running into some problems there. It will not carry the flow.
That's the one right by the crossing up about the barn, isn't it?
Correct.
That's so rough when you cross.
And y'all, like I said, it's been changed once already.
Yeah. And
I was with Jim Wire when he changed that.
And the last time it was changed was not that long ago, and for it to rust as quick as it did, concrete's the option here.
Something in the minerals or
Yeah.
something that's causing that one to just rust so fast, because that has not been that many years, as big as that tile is.
Probably out of chicken litter and stuff.
Could
Yeah,
be,
that's exactly.
could be, but this one is bad rusted out. Okay, any other questions for Carlin on this one? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve this work?
Motion to approve it.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Askew for the $98,685 culvert replacement with Tally Construction on West Cove Road in front of the Cross Farm. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Stoltz. Any further discussion of the board?
Yes, and one other question. So this will be done and then the road paved, right?
This will be done, they'll patch it until another reason why we're using Tally on this, so they can work in conjunction.
That's what I thought. Let's make sure that, we're not digging up new asphalt, what I'm saying.
No.
Yeah, good, okay.
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't dig up the asphalt. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll approve this purchase order as well for Tally. And this also too is one that we looked at all three options as well, and this was the best option. Okay, the next one is purchase order 2021-2037 for Tally Construction to remove and replace a culvert on West Cove. This one's in the amount of $232,544, and this is quite a large job here. Carla?
So this is a box culvert that it's the first box culvert you come to when you first get on to West Cove Road. We looked at putting a double pipe to take all of that out, putting 2 pipes in. We looked at maybe spin casting that, looked at slip lining it. Any option that we had there was going to be a smaller opening to take that volume of water. I've seen water up nearly to the road there, but never over it. Feel like if we downsize it any at all, if there ever is an issue, it would be because we downsized it. So they're taking out the 9x7 box culvert and putting back a 9x7 box culvert. It's all cast in place, supply and install, precast, I'm sorry, it's precast box culvert. Install wing walls to be cast in place. Wing walls, head walls, all the riprap. This will be, standard guardrail is included. There's 40 foot of guardrail in each direction. This will be a full road closure for probably 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, depending on when we schedule this to be done, weather and other things going on. Pretty large tree there that needs to be removed. If y'all are looking at that, we'll have to get it. There's a tree right there in the way, so we'll have to get it cut, which is not a huge deal.
What's wrong with the box culvert there now, the concrete?
The box culvert there is what looks to me, when West Cove Road was a 1-lane road, it had been widened at some point. One side of it's new and in decent shape. The other side is crumbling. Rebar showing there's holes in the side of it.
Okay.
We definitely need to address it before we put new asphalt over that road.
Understood.
Just the age. Okay, any other questions? Again, this is a big project, and this is going to take probably a 3 to 4 week closure of that. It's going to create a detour. It's going to take and create quite an obstacle for the residents there, but we definitely want to get this done before we pave the road.
Correct.
And that's on our 2021 paving list. So do we have a motion to approve this purchase order?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Stoltz to approve the purchase order to Tally Construction for $232,544. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Hart. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, that's all for you, Carla. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank y'all.
Spent a lot of money.
Invest.
Invest, that's right.
Okay, we do have our zoning and conditional use items coming up next. A request from Megan Stone for conditional use variance to see her massage therapy clients in her existing home and property located at 427 Oakwood Terrace, Chickamauga, Georgia, 30707, tax map and parcel 0-182-127. This did go to the Planning Commission on August 19th. There was no conditions. They recommend that the board approve this based off of what they've heard. So is there any further discussion or question of the board on this?
No, I'm very familiar with that situation over there and think it's a great opportunity, and I'd like to go ahead, if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Askew. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Hart. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, this will be approved as submitted. Okay, we have the request from Michael Odom for conditional use variance to operate an auto repair business, property located at 0 McFarland Avenue, Rossville, Georgia, tax map and partial 0-174-014. This one here, the notes show from the Planning Commission, their recommendation to the Planning Commission was to deny this. David, do you have anything else you want to add or anything on this?
Can you tell us why they wanted to deny this, please?
David Brown's our planning director. He's going to speak on this item.
It was denied. It was voted 7 to deny and 1 to approve. And what it was, with it being in the overlay district, There's some stipulations that have been brought forth before, and they were concerned with all his vehicles parking there.
Okay, and they're also, were they familiar with the surrounding area? Because I'm very familiar, I think Commissioner Blakemore is too. Like I said, there's
Yes, sir.
several commercial businesses there. As a matter of fact, I think it's surrounded by commercial businesses, is that
As
correct?
we had discussed once before, a lot of the overlay goes way up McFarland, really almost to the tax office.
But
And it's on both sides.
And it's allowable practice in the overlay.
Yes, it is.
Any other discussion of the board, or any questions today?
Mr. Brown, you may not know the answer to this, but isn't there some other auto repair businesses? I think a foreign car.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe there's a garage across and auto sales. Do they not work on, I think there's, right there at Jenkins and McFarland.
Okay.
So it was just mainly just the vehicles? I mean,
That was the main concern, not having,
because all those businesses I'm down to, they're gonna have vehicles.
Yes, and it's commercial and has been forever.
And the zoning of that currently is,
it's actually commercial.
It is commercial
C1,
zone.
CBDOD.
okay, so it is commercial and McFarland.
Is fencing required in any of those areas?
It can, as far as privacy fences?
Yes.
It can be requested to the board if y'all would like for him to put up a privacy fence.
Isn't there some criteria in that overlay district with fencing?
I have to go back and look. It depends on the
Fencing and
situation.
vegetative buffer. And Mr. Odom, did you not say that you had some fencing up or were working to put some screening up or?
I'm in the process of getting some put on that back side, on the Schmidt Road side, to where you cannot see air compressor and stuff in the back. But as far as any other vehicles and stuff, I mean, 3, maybe 4 tops at any one given time.
What size building is there?
It's 30 by 40.
I want to make a recommendation that we approve his variance as he applied for.
Okay, so you're making that as a motion?
Making that as a motion.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Commissioner Blakemore to approve this request for this variance as submitted by the applicant. So do we have a motion to, a second to support that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second to approve the conditional use variance for Michael Odom on McFarland Avenue. Any further discussion of the board on this?
No, sir.
Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's been approved as submitted. Okay, we have the rezone request from industrial to R3, located at 0 Happy Valley Road, Rossville, Georgia, tax map and parcel 0-136-017. This is the one that is being submitted to plan to build the 75 luxury cottages ranging in size from 1,600 square feet, 2-bedroom, to 2,300 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. There was a hearing on this at the planning back on June the 17th, 2021. It was tabled at that time. It did come before this body as well on June 24th, 2021. It was tabled. It was sent back to the Planning Commission on August the 18th, 2021, and it was approved as submitted. I know since then there's been some conversations about a easement and also a traffic study that was mentioned earlier.
Yes, Chairman, I would like to ask that we table this until they bring us the traffic study. And I want in proof that they got something worked out with the right of way.
or
Because
the
my-
easement? The easement.
The easement.
Okay.
Because my concern is there's gonna be kids on each side and they wanna play with their friends and there's gonna be commercial traffic. And that's just something we don't need to cross. But other than that, I think it's a great project.
Okay. So the motion by Commissioner Blakemore is to table this into our next regular scheduled meeting. We would put it back on the agenda at that time. So do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a second by Commissioner Stoltz to table this. Any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, all in favor to table this at this time, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we will table this until the next regular scheduled meeting, which will be 2 weeks from today. And we ask the applicant to work on those 2 items for us. Okay, at this time, the next item on our agenda is commissioner comments, so we'll start at the end of the table with Commissioner Blakemore, please.
I'd just like to appreciate everybody coming out, and if I can ever help you in any way, feel free to give me a call, text, email. And the second vaccine shot, Joe, if I think is off the top of my head, September 17th, from 9 to 12 in Rossville, first and second shot. If you got your first shot, you can come get your second. If you want your first, you can still come get it. Pfizer and Moderna will be offered, and that will be at the Rossville gym again.
Okay, so that's at the Rossville Athletic Center.
Yes.
Okay, second shot, or anybody that wants a first shot, they can come.
Is welcome to come.
And get Pfizer or Moderna, either one. Okay, very good. Commissioner Askew?
Here again, thanks everybody for participating. The more participation, the better it helps us to make the decisions that are best for the citizens of Walker County. As to O.J. Miller, I'd like to address, O.J., I appreciate you bringing your thoughts to the table. I happen to agree with you. I'm not a fan of the machines. I know that that's where the country's gone, and I think we've learned a lesson. I don't know what the answer is, but I'd like to look into that and see what options we may have. And I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Could I make one more comment?
Sure.
I just found out, and I forgot to mention this, but I just found out last night that it was either, I think it happened yesterday or the day before, a federal judge, and I took it to be in Georgia, has ruled that the machines do not meet the criteria of the federal government to preserve the vote integrity. I'm probably not saying it exactly the way they said it, but that the machines are actually illegal. And I thought that was very interesting. I can't tell you where to go to find it, but I heard it on frankspeech.com last night. They were interviewing Garland Favorito. He is a Georgian who has been pursuing the election fraud details, and he was bringing this out. So that is absolutely in our favor if it doesn't get.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Hart?
Couple things, Robert did a great job in Rossville with the shot thing. I think it was a great thing. I want to mention in Lafayette, you can also get your shots daily at CVS Pharmacy, also at MediThrift, and where else, Robert?
Longley's in Rossville does them free.
In
And
Longley.
of course, the health department.
Yeah, the health, yeah.
free. Yeah.
So that's available every day in Lafayette. If you want those, they are readily available. Another thing to add, that Mr. Terry Tucker came a couple weeks ago to us. We did get him some funding for the tree project up on Lookout Mountain through the Coosa River Soil and Water Conservation District and also the Limestone Valley RC&D. So that was a successful project, and he's gonna get that funding in the spring to do that.
Good to hear that.
Yep.
Good work.
Robert?
Yes, sir, thank you. So, O.J., just to kind of address, you'd mentioned your concerns about mandates on COVID vaccine. And being in the science field, of course, I'm always asking and encouraging folks to get the vaccine. I think in our county, our numbers are pretty low. I would like to see our numbers increased, but as a conservative Republican, I would never mandate or would want anyone to mandate someone getting a vaccine. That's our personal choice, our personal freedoms, and I am very adamant about that. From a personal standpoint, I think the vaccine is safe. I think it works, and I would encourage others to get the vaccine, but I can certainly appreciate your concerns, and I can understand those 100%. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, and our chairman mentioned it when we started, let's just keep those families of the service people who were killed today in Afghanistan. It's very sad, very heartbreaking. It's a sad day for our country, and just keep those folks who died and the families in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing that I would like to share with everybody today too, our friends at P52 who's been here with us for the last 4.5 years or so, helping us clean up blighted properties in Walker County. In the last several years, they've done a project with all of the freshmen of Covenant College, and one of their first days of school that they go out and do a community project right off the bat. And so I'm happy to report that Chris Robertson and his team at P52, they brought down this week 310 volunteers, and they took and had 9 container dumpsters. One was at 302 Grayson Street in Rossville. The second group was at 1418 Caldwell Street in Rossville. The third group was divided up and sent to 35 Gentry Lane, Chickamauga. So they divided up these volunteers, and they filled up 9 construction dumpsters in about 3 hours. And that was 39.25 tons. And the cost of the dumpsters to haul all that off was a little over $3,700, almost $3,800. So here is a community coming together, teaching these young college students some community service and value, and helping our county clean up some blighted structures. And so hats off to the students at Covenant College, and also to Chris Robertson for his leadership with that group. Also, I would like to make some additional comments about a couple of these projects that was brought up tonight. The Gateway project, in talking about the Hutchison estate, you know, that property up there has been put on the market by commercial real estate because of the passing of Bette Hutchison, who was the heir to that property, and she has since passed away. And so the estate is selling that property through commercial real estate. So us as a county, we're not able to decide or pick or choose who shows interest or who wants to buy that property or what type of projects are coming there. And so the Gateway Group was probably the first group to show the interest in helping to bring some workforce housing development into our community, because a market study's been done that shows that our housing capacity a year and a half ago was at 98.8%. You know, we had very little capacity. We have a lot of people in our community that are looking for affordable housing, that are working people in our community. We have a lot of people in our community that are making, you know, $17, $18, $20 an hour, that are looking for somewhere nice to live. And this project would give people an opportunity with those income levels to be able to have an affordable housing for a working class person, to allow them an opportunity to be close to the school systems. You know, most of us grew up in communities where you had a city school system. You know, the schools were located in the cities. Schools have had to go and move out because of building requirements by the school systems or state school boards. And so this is an opportunity to see some development in and around 3 of our schools. There's an elementary school, high school, and middle school. So the subdivision development, the apartment development, the cottages that are being developed, this will create an environment where school kids can walk to school and be able to walk safely, you know, in the future, with addition of being able to hopefully come back at some time and make improvements with sidewalks and maybe light poles and different things to create a safer environment for that community. But we don't pick those winners and losers on those property developments. Also, people will come many times and ask about, we need more retail, we need more restaurants, we need more retail shopping opportunities. And every time we talk to retail operations, they say, well, you don't have enough rooftops, you don't have enough demographics in your area to support that retail. So we're very happy to see that a couple of these out parcels on both sides of the roads are being earmarked and designated for retail commercial growth so people can live and shop locally and have a local grocery store, have a local barber shop or coffee shop and these type things. So there's a great opportunity in that community to see some good development. And I know anytime you have growth, it's change and it can bring uneasiness and all. We do realize that it is going to create more traffic, but there are solutions. We can work with GDOT. We can work with a planner. There's a lot of things we can do to mitigate that, but it is a great opportunity for our community to see development with the shortages that we have, both in housing, both in apartments, but also being able to have housing that the working class people in our county can afford. And you know, they're looking at rental rates for that affordable housing between $800 and $1,100 per month for a 3-bedroom. So it takes a working class person to be able to afford $1,100 a month in a rental. But there's a lot of amenities that they're looking at there as well, with a swimming pool, a playground, a community space, a lot of things that would bring a sense of community also to that development that would foster a strong community there. So it is a project that obviously there has been some disagreements on here tonight. Again, I would like to say it was a mistake on our part that we did not handle the advertising that needed to be done. My thing was I was focused on communicating with the residents there, and that's why I sent them a letter, invited them to a meeting, and I was grateful for those that attended and come, and we shared and talked about that. But over a period of time, we was also in the middle of COVID. There's a lot of things going on. It was a misstep in that process. So instead of partially redoing it, because we just missed one step, we decided, let's redo the whole thing. Let's just start back from the beginning, redo the whole thing. The developer was agreeable. Plus, we explained we've had a change in our form of a government from a sole commissioner to a board. And so they agreed that was the right thing to do. And so we have reset the clock on that, and that project has been put on hold for any development there or anything that's going to take place until it goes back through the planning and zoning hearing there, and we'll come back here to the Board of Commissioners as well. So I just wanted to mention that before we close out tonight. So is there any need for an executive session tonight? Okay, hearing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
A motion by Commissioner Hart, a second by Commissioner Blakemore. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for attending tonight.